My name is Layla Caraway. I am from Haltom City. A friend of mine describes Haltom City as a small town in the shadow of the big city. That big city being Fort Worth, Texas. Haltom City is a small working class town. I was raised here, went to school here. My grandpa ran one of the first grocery stores. It's the kind of town where everybody knows each other. Friday night football is still big here. This is Texas after all. They still shut down Highway 377 for the homecoming parade every year. My grandparents bought their first home here in 1949. In a way, this is the story of Fort Worth. Tarrant County, home to just under 2 million souls. Cowtown, where the West begins. Fort Worth began as most towns on the frontier did, where the water was. In this case, right above the confluence of the Trinity River, where the West Fork and the Clear Fork run together. So how did this small town girl get mixed up in the big city politics of Fort Worth? Interesting story. One morning in 2007, on my way to work, I noticed helicopters circling the skies above White's Branch Creek. This creek begins in Keller and flows through Haltom City until it dumps into Big Fossil Creek. I would later learn the storm the night before, which would come to be known as the Father's Day Flood, sent water barreling downstream, flooding a mobile home park in the middle of the night. The helicopters were searching for the body of Allie Collins, a 4-year-old child that was drowned in the middle of the night as their family had to fight for their lives. It was reported that at least 100 families were left homeless. Cars and mobile homes were swept away in the raging waters. Everything they owned was gone in an instant. It seems everyone knew it was going to flood, and no one did anything. I kept thinking, how is that possible? I wasn't sure what I could do to help. In reality, I had no idea the hell these people were going through. I didn't know, within days, that would change. On June 26, almost 10 days after Allie died, I arrived home just as the rain started, again. It had rained so much that month, the ground was saturated and the water had nowhere to go. It was flooding all over the mid-cities, again. It was quicker this time, and within minutes, we were flood victims, sort of. The creek rose higher than I had ever seen it. 30-foot trees were being ripped out of the ground and carried downstream like pieces of paper. The water was undercutting our yard. We watched in horror as the corner of it collapsed into the creek below, turning our American dream into a nightmare. The next 7 days were a blur. It never stopped raining. Within a week, we lost 50 feet of land that was our backyard. We became the media focal point and even made the national news. I did more interviews than any one person should have to. I contacted every local and state official, every engineer, every attorney, every insurance company, anyone I thought could help, because in reality, no one was. When the city finally arrived to assess the situation, they told me it was my property, my problem. This is the moment I realized it's bigger than me, than my neighborhood, than the trailer park, than Haltom City. This is all our problem, and it's getting worse, and no one is doing a damn thing. I then knew the hell we were living through was magnified for those in the trailer park. They lost everything. Their homes, their cars, their belongings, a precious child. I mentioned this to every reporter I spoke with. Only a couple mentioned it in their reports. News crews camped out at our house. No one wanted to miss the money shot when our house toppled over the edge into the creek below, and some were just astounded at the runaround we were getting. I received an anonymous call that Kay Granger and John Cornyn would be touring the trailer park the next day and then holding a press conference at the fire station. I tried to get the news reporters camped at my house to mention the press conference on the air. They didn't. My neighbors and I were at the fire station waiting. We were told we couldn't ask any questions. Sometimes it's good not to listen.
Sir, y'all have been studying this for 7 years. Yes, you have. With the Corps of Engineers, we have all the paperwork.
Has been studying it for a while.
And you've been involved as well, the city.
The city has been involved as well. We have asked the Corps several times to visit that.
Layla Caraway says the congressional visit is the first hope she's had.
I'm very angry. I'm very angry. I'm disappointed. I'm angry they're not only not helping us, they're not The trailer park hasn't really received any assistance. It's been 2 weeks. Those people, some of those people lost everything.
At rush hour, water from Big Fossil Creek and White's Branch Creek inundated Loop 820, closing it, putting many people in jeopardy. Cities everywhere were flooding again. For the next 6 months, we were stuck in limbo with a house on the edge, literally. We had no home. Our belongings were being stored. The storage unit flooded. No one had any answers. I started learning just how many groups are involved, who is responsible for what, who is protecting our lives and property, who is guarding our precious water supply, and where is the money going in Tarrant County. What I found made me sick. I felt compelled to do something about it. The Fort Worth Weekly article that summer confirmed what I was starting to piece together. In their article, Deep Waters, Haltom City's getting the floods while Fort Worth is getting the money. So I started going to meetings of the Corps, the Trinity River Vision, city councils, where there were rooms full of money, politics, and slick, shiny, expensive brochures. Like the press conference in Haltom City, when the Washington politicians came to town, someone always reminded you there would be no Q&A, that our elected officials would not be responding to questions. I began to see that there were others who attended these meetings that, like myself, had questions and weren't getting answers. My new compatriots were war heroes, former city councilmen, founders and leaders of neighborhood groups and political parties, business owners, property owners, policemen, editors, the diverse fabric of Fort Worth. There are Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, every affiliation known, and some who have never affiliated before, like myself. These are all people who care about their town, its history, where it's headed, and they all have plenty to say.